So we got another one of these 3-hour blocks when AEW Dynamite becomes Collision, and Collision is AEW Dynamite, mostly because we do have our big pay-per-view at the weekend, and yes, this is too long. We have said this 1,000 times, but there's no point, there is a point saying it again. There's no point getting in depth with it and going, I can't believe it, because we know that AEW is going to do this. I think eventually you just have to accept that's what they've decided to do, and it is what it is. In terms of the show, was it any good? Well, at the moment, we do not know, as I kind of fall down what the flub is going on here, but only the finger of power knows. Thank you very much for joining me. I am Simon Miller. It is a wrestling review show. If I like something, it gets it up. If I don't like something, it gets it down. Please do go share this with your friends and be like, there's this really weird guy that talks about wrestling, and I have no clue what he's on about. Let's go. Now, I did very much enjoy the opening to Dynamite, which was to determine who was going to be the number one entrant in the casino gauntlet that is happening at Full Gear, because it was Ricochet versus Bobby Lashley. Now, of course, this ties into the feud that's never going to end, but Ricochet got in the ring. He just talked and he talked. He was like, this town sucks. The only thing good to come out of this place is my wife. And Bobby Lashley, you're a bald idiot. That scared me because I call myself the bald asshole. I was like, Ricochet, please don't steal my stuff. But honestly, he knew what he was doing. It was just blah, blah, blah. I can't stand any of this. When Bobby Lashley picked him up and he threw him onto the gates of agony, and as Ricochet was going, he just went, no, Bobby, no. Honestly, you can say whatever you like about R-Dog, which I shouldn't have called him, massively regret it. You could say whatever you want about Ricochet. I think he's a flubbing delight. Bobby Lashley is also the man. I'm sure Ricochet got a few things in here, but ultimately, Bobby Lashley just wrecked him, gave him a spine buster, and speared him. I don't know how much the long was. I don't know how long this match was, but Ricochet absolutely talked longer than he was competitive, and now Bobby Lashley is going to be number one. Sometimes, especially when you don't have a 3-hour block, you should do stuff like this. It was very, very entertaining. It was very funny. It got Ricochet across like a dickhead. It got Bobby Lashley across like he's a monster. That's my doorbell going. I'll be back in a second. Now, I could have cut that, but I was mid-flow, and I was enjoying what I was putting out there. But yes, it was just fun, and it was just good. And you didn't have to overthink it. Bob is now going to be numero uno, giving it up. Samoa Joe then let us know he is not allowed to physically attack Adam Page, otherwise he's going to lose his title opportunity at Full Gear. But that's fine, because Shibata is here and he's going to whip his ass. Samoa Joe said something like, I'm going to take your happiness and destroy it forever, and because you have wronged us, you have to start paying the piper tonight. You have to go watch this promo. It just made me realize Samoa Joe is one of the best of all time, especially of the modern era, and given that he's in commentary of the main event too, once again, he was just the dude. I'm just going to give him an up now. If you don't like Samoa Joe, I would love you to get in touch, because we are going to have a big old conversation. For some reason, the Young Bucks were then watching highlights of their own matches. I mean, I guess you do have to study tape. Renee Paquette was like, by the way, I'm a journalist, and I would love to know whether you are going to join the Don Callis family. When Don Callis walked in and said, oh, this is just gotcha journalism, when he did kind of lean on Matt and Nick Jackson, because he was like giving you a lot of money, and you are about to have a match, listen to this wonderful intro I'm going to give you. Once again, he gave them the big flaboo. They were teaming with Josh Alexander as well to take on Dante Martin, Darius Martin, and Scorpio Sky. I was like, man, I have not seen you three on Dynamite for a long old time, but they went out there. We got our prerequisite party match, which means somebody somewhere, but he was getting mad. But you could just sit back. You didn't have to worry about the winner or the loser because you obviously knew who was going to get the victory. Everybody flew around. There was at least 3 dives, so put a 3 on the dive counter. I just thought it was a barrel of laughs. And the big story throughout all of this is that Josh Alexander was not being nice to the Young Bucks at all. He basically pie-faced Matt Jackson at one point. Anytime he could do a blind tag, well, he went and did a blind tag. And even at the end of the damn thing, when the Young Bucks had hit the Meltzer driver or the TK driver, whatever the hell we're calling it, he went, this is not going to happen. He applied the ankle lock and he got the tap-out victory. So once again, the Young Bucks have stood there like, well, that wasn't very nice, is it? And now not only are we broke, but we feel pretty sad. Now, Don Callis flew out like a T-Rex after this, because he was like, you must give us an answer now. And of course, Matt and Nick Jackson were like, well, we don't really know what we're going to do. This is when the rest of the Don Callis family started to sort of approach on them, because they were like, damn it, we're bored and we're impatient. Now, really, there was a massive red flag here, because when Donnie realized this, he essentially said, if you don't agree, I'm going to kill you. And do you remember what I did to Kenny Omega? Well, that will be your fate as well. So you can see what we're doing here. We are putting in the building blocks so eventually the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega do get back together, which is exactly what we should do. The Young Bucks' heel run has naturally come to an end. And also, there's a lot of bad guys on AEW, so we need more heroes. Now, actually, Don Callis said Kenny Omega's name way too many times. So as per Wrestling Rule 14.4, he did make his big return and he came to the ring. He had a chair. And he was going to beat everybody up, but the Young Bucks tried to calm him down. That's when Josh Alexander was like, ha I'm going to take advantage of this. And he put him in the ankle lock. Callis was so happy about this as well because he was like, well, this is wonderful. We do not need words, Matthew and Nicholas. You can prove our loyalty to us right now. Why don't you go beat up your old friend Ken? Now, it certainly looked like they were going to hit the BTE trigger when, of course, the Jurassic Express finally came to the ring. So suppose they're on the bathroom or something or playing a game of Monopoly. And look, Jack Perry had like a shovel and Luchasaurus had a vacuum cleaner. And I'm sorry, somebody must have sort of informed him about those because I checked. I went on the internet. They did not have vacuum cleaners in the dinosaur period. Now, it did kind of end with Josh Alexander in the Young Bucks' arm, but the whole point is they are conflicted and we are going to get this big, $1 million match at the weekend. And I can only presume by the end of that, Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson will all have a big hug and then Jack Perry will be hugging too and Luchasaurus will be like, I can't get involved in this because I'm a dinosaur. I don't have those kind of emotions, but it's nice and simple and the match was very, very good, so I am going to give it an up. And then, of course, we can have this faction taking on the Don Callis guys. It just works. Like, it's not going to change the world, but you can just sit down and enjoy it. Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale then promised to win the women's tag team title tournament, which makes sense because they're in the thing. Why would they think anything else? When we had a very bittersweet moment with Tony Schiavone, who basically said Bob Caudle passed away this week. I believe it was Monday or Tuesday. He talked about how when he got to work alongside him, this was a highlight of a wrestling career, and it was just such a lovely tribute. Like, it hit you right in the tum-tum. And of course, thoughts with his friends and family. He was 95 years old, though. I mean, what an incredible life he must have had. When we got to Casino Gauntlet qualifying number 2, which was apt because it was the number 2 position, it was Mike Bailey versus Shelton Benjamin, and this is just the match that you should go out of your way to watch. It was so damn good. Mike Bailey in many ways is underrated, and in terms of people we do not give a credit for, thank flubbing Shelton Benjamin left WWE to go to AEW, because that dude is just on fire right now. I thought this was tremendous. And yes, look, there was some confusion at the finish because Shelton Benjamin hit his big kick that's super and he pinned him. And the ref for some reason went 1-2 and not going to count the 3. It was just a mistake. It was just an error. And Shelton got back to his feet. He hit a German suplex, hit another super kick and got the victory. And MVP was on commentary too. And he got up after the first one. So that was quite clearly the plan finished. But if you go and watch some different angles and zoom in, I think that Shelton Benjamin gave Mike Bailey a little squeeze to say, thanks for an amazing match because it was good. And the ref saw that and he just got confused. It's 2 + 2 = potato. These things do happen. I'm not going to worry about it, especially because, my gosh, there was this shooting star press that Mike Bailey did when Shelton Benjamin kicked out the 1-2, and then he just grabbed Mike Bailey and he held him across the ring. This needs to be a feud. We somehow need to get back into this. It totally ruled. And of course, the story is excellent because Bobby Lashley is now number 1. Shelton Benjamin is number 2. So are they going to fight in that gauntlet match? Are they just going to stand there waiting for number 3? The number 3 is going to be like, I don't know, Shark Boy or something. And that guy's going to get absolutely murked. Once again, I'll repeat what I just said. It's the simple things, damn it. I'm giving it an up. However, I do have one point. Now, this could be me, and I want to make it very clear that MVP knows way more about professional wrestling than I will ever know, and I massively respect him. I think he's a wonderful performer, and another guy that probably doesn't get the love he does deserve, but on commentary, he just wrecked Mike Bailey so bad. He's like, oh great, he's flying around the place, but who cares about that? Now, of course, the idea of this was to put Shelton Benjamin over as a monster, as we should be doing. But even when Mike Bailey was applying arm bars and other submissions, and Bryan Danielson would be like, wow, what do you think about that, MVP? He'd be like, man, he can't even extend the arm properly. Shelton's in no danger whatsoever. Now, yes, one more time. That is his manager, that is his friend, that is his mentor. Because of course he would be doing this. But the fact that Mike Bailey lost, I just thought it was a little bit too much. And I don't think you should go too full in on flippy dippy doodah wrestlers. I don't know. It was just something that hit me. I could be wrong. I'd love to hear your comments down below, but I am just going to give it a down. MVP was very entertaining, right? He could do this for the rest of his days and it'd be totally fine. But yeah, Mike Bailey lost and he got eviscerated. by MVP. It was entertaining because I'm laughing, but that's how I felt, and that's my job. To be honest with you, then you can come tell me on social media that I'm biased. It's very boring. Well, we need to give a massive round of applause for Jon Moxley because he was teaming with Claudio Castagnoli to take on Orange Cassidy and Roderick Strong. And the whole time you sat there going, well, if he gets in a submission, he may be in a bit of bother. And of course, any time he did get locked in anything, he just freaked out like a cat that was outside when there's a firework display. He's another guy that I think when we get to the end of 2025, he probably deserves a little bit more praise given what he did do. He's just got this character down. I think we are building to something as well, because even though the Death Riders did get the win here, the whole time the commentators were like, well, without Claudio Castagnoli, Jon Moxley would have been a world in trouble. So I wonder if we do get to early 2026, Claudio is like, listen, man, you ain't pulling your weight no more, and I'm the leader or whatever. This is a terrible comparison, you have to forgive me. But we did do that with the Judgment Day, and it worked very well. We wait and see. Orange Cassidy went for a dive at one point, and Claudio caught him and just chucked him into barricades. I have to say, I didn't mention it before, by this stage of Dynamite, this had happened like 3 times. So maybe the bigger wrestlers have realized there's too much diving. They're trying to cut that out, but of course later Orange Cassidy did get a dive, so put a 1 on the dive counter. But I just thought this was a really well put together match that again continues to tell this story, especially the post-match too. Although we do have to put a 1 on the dick counter because Daniel Garcia, he was being a penis. Of course Wheeler Yuta ran in and he can't help but be an absolute moron. That's just what the Riders of Death do. This came after Orange Cassidy had smacked everybody with the orange punch as well. So essentially he would have won when Claudio got in there, gave the big cigar uppercut. I tell you, John Moxley applied the Bulldog choke straight away and Orange Cassidy fell asleep. Now I do think more people need to start tapping out to moves like this, but at the same time, he is a piece of fruit and pieces of fruit can't sleep, so he's probably really tired. What? Of course we got the post-match beatdown, but this is when Kyle O'Reilly ran out to follow up everything from Blood and Guts, and I thought this was superb, because Kyle O'Reilly went totally insane. He did apply the ankle lock to John Moxley, who, surprise, surprise, started to tap out straight away, but the rest of the Death Riders were trying to pull him off, not like that, don't be weird, and they weren't able to do that, because again, Kyle has gone crazy loon, when they went to the babyfaces were like, well, we're perfectly happy with this, so they got rid of the bad guys. Kyle O'Reilly went there nuts again, and he grabbed the mic and said, John Moxley, I hate you so much, you've ruined my life, so at Full Gear, it's you versus me in a no-holds-barred match. Now, I still kind of think John Moxley has to win, because Kyle's had his number the last month or so, but if you do want to push Kyle O'Reilly, this would be the time to do it. At the same point, he did win the Blood and Guts, essentially, so maybe that is how you balance it out. But the fact I get to go down this flight of fancy, you couldn't have done that with Kyle O'Reilly back in August, as I picked a random month. So this really has achieved its goal, and I think there's a big end something or other coming for John Moxley soon. I thought this was very well done, and again, if you do watch the show, it rewarded you for being a nerd. We all love being nerds. Up. Roderick then told FTR they are going to win this weekend because, of course, they are already the tag team champions. When we cut to Kenny Omega and the Jurassic Express, and Kenny said something like, money can't buy friends, or maybe it can. It was way more poetic than that, it was a good line. As Alexander had ruined Michael Nakazawa recently too, Kenny Omega now feels this is personal, which is a wonderful callback when he did his big go-home wrestling line, as Jack Perry stood there holding a shovel. I don't believe that Luchasaurus had his vacuum cleaner, so that's another story we're going to have to address at some point. Women's Tag Team Tournament continued on after this, but I am going to be a massive geek again and throw it down in there, because as great as the news was that the Continental Classic starts next week, and that thing is absolute gold, like it's always a joy, it's just a bit like we're not even waiting until the Women's Tag Team title tournament has ended before we start another tournament. We're literally going Ghostbusters, and we're crossing the streams. Does it make a difference? No. Have I overthought this? Yes. But once again, when these ideas enter my brain and I do try and, pull them apart, that is how I feel about it. Just kind of feel like we could have extended it a little bit. Otherwise, I don't even know. I just think you don't want the importance to be taken away, especially not for the Women's Tag Team title tournament, because we are going to be crowning new challengers, or champions, I should say. So I'm giving it a down. Does it deserve a down? I mean, probably not. But I can't help how I feel. At the same time, it was Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa taking on Riho and Alex Windsor. And even though you knew who the winner here was going to be, I thought everybody shone out really well. Mina and Toni have their own entrance, so surely they're going to become the champs and have a proper run. Alex Windsor continues to prove that she's totally got it ever since she has signed. And Riho's just Riho. At one point, she did this mad dive. And because she's so small, she just flows in the air like she's a dart. Also put a 1 on the dive counter. There's also a really cool bit when Toni Storm and Alex Windsor fought as well, and don't forget they were a tag team, 2 months ago? But that just goes to show when championship belts are on the line, you've got to do what you have to do. And eventually Mina and Toni did double sweet cheek musics. We got the Storm Zero and the 1, 2, 3, but this was a very competitive match. Once again, every single person felt like they wanted to win those belts, and that's what you've got to do. Giving it an up. Nice and simple, did the job I liked. Then you got some mad stuff for the pay-per-view as well, because the 4 teams that are now in the semi-finals are going to have a match, so it's a tag team 4-way, and the winner then gets to decide the stipulation for their own personal semi-final, which I presume means the other semi-final has no stipulations. Now, if you did this in real sport, it would create quite the controversy, because that's not fair at all, but I also may have got that wrong. Hopefully the graphic will be on the screen. You make of it what you will. Alicia Attack was then with Mark Briscoe, Kyle Fletcher, and Don Callis, because of course they have their big match this weekend. And they have agreed to no physicality, although I like the tie in here. Kyle was like, listen, mate, the reason I did agree to this is because when I beat you this weekend, I want you to be 100%. Everybody looked at Kyle and was like, what the hell happened to your accent? He's also super excited because, of course, when he does win, Mark has to join the Don Callis family and he can't wait to see what he's going to do. Briscoe was like, don't you talk about anyone's family, right? I do this for my family, and anything coming out of your mouth is just noise. Of course, Okada and Echistera then attacked him because they hadn't signed up to any of this. When Don Callis shouted out, I'm going to make your kids orphans, all things considered, and given the family we are talking about, I don't particularly feel like we needed that. Okada was super happy though, because of course he did this, and that idiot Takeshita would never have been able to do the same. So Mark Briscoe has to win on Saturday, right? He has to walk away as a TNT champion. Doesn't even matter if he only holds the belt for a week or anything like that. Kyle Fletcher's had such a good year, he can lose. It's not gonna make a blind bit of difference. But Mark Briscoe got so mugged off here, and not even his friends came in to help. He needs to get the win. So let's just park this for now. But if he loses again, do you know what I'm going to do? Nothing. I'll probably do a snarky tweet on social media. No, I won't do that because that's what losers do. We wait and see. Pac then did this really awesome sit-down promo when he apologized to Darby Allin. He's like, Darby, before Blood and Guts, I told you I was going to break your neck. But instead, I set you on fire and sent you to the burns unit. So I wasn't 100% honest. Some people used to say that Pac didn't have character. You live it on Mars. He also said at the pay-per-view their one-on-one match is not going to have any stipulations because Darby is nowhere near the athlete Pac is, so there's no way he can beat him. And I think this is really smart because I would imagine that Darby Allin does win. And if he is going to be a world champion at some point in 2026, well, this is where you plant the seeds because he can go, see, I didn't need any smoke and mirrors. I didn't need any shenanigans. I can beat somebody when it is a one-on-one match. And let's not forget, it could be MJF that he is challenging for the world championship. And that would tie into their feud from 2 years ago, whatever it was. I am giving this an up. I thought Pac was great. When we got to our main event, there was Hangman and Page taking on Shibata with Samoa Joe on commentary, and they just did what they needed to do. No notes. It's not true, I made notes. The best part was early on, Hangman took Shibata's head and started slamming it into the announce table. And because Samoa Joe was on commentary, he was livid. He was like, how dare you do this in front of me? I know I'm going back to what I said a minute ago, but he's just so flipping good. Joe did kind of distract him at one point, so eventually Shibata thumped him. And this is where I have my necks down. And you can probably argue with this with me, should you so wish. But Shibata hit him with the Shattered Dreams, right? He kicked him right in the balls. And the referee was like, dude, I'm right here. And Shibata, the bad guy, went, excuse me, I kicked him in the thigh. I was like, I'm sorry, referee. The referee bought it. I was like, that's ridiculous. That's like me telling you I shave my head because it's a choice. Not like Mother Nature came in and whipped my ass. I don't know, like it was funny and I enjoyed it. But you did mug the ref off a little bit. And sometimes there's just no need. I'm giving it a tiny down. The finish was superb though, and maybe it does time into the time of year, because Shibata got the ankle lock. So many people doing ankle locks on this show. And Hangman got out of it by wiggling and jibbling, and his boot was removed. Shibata was surprised, and honestly, Hangman and Page is the coolest babyface ever. He smashed him with a lariat, Shibata threw the boot in the air, Hangman caught it, and then he hit the buckshot lariat and got the 1, 2, 3. If you're like a kid watching this, you probably think he's the greatest man alive. He also got a microphone afterwards and told Samoa Joe he is now totally doomed because he's the loneliest man on the planet. Powerhouse Hobbs in the hospital. Shibata's now dead. So in that steel cage match, what's he going to do? And also, should Page need to, he can do what he did against Swerve a couple of years ago. I was like, no. Don't do that again. But once you want to set up a promotion for a cage match, that is the way to do it, because now I'm scared. I think they're going to have a great match. Samoa Joe is one of the best. Hangman Adam Page has totally found his feet again in 2025. I'm giving it an up. I would say it was a good close to the show, but it's not true. This angle actually finished when Collision had already begun. Now, given the audience retention, very sadly, is a thing on YouTube, we will fly through Collision as quickly as we can. We cut to FTR, who are like, haha, bro Dido, you absolutely suck. And not only are we going to beat you at the weekend, but this title reign is going to establish our legacy. They'd also talked about all the work they have done over the last 11 years and how they are one of the best tag teams. So now if they do back that up, yeah, maybe this should be the one. They also mentioned Bandito's grandma, so he's definitely going to be mad about this. When we did get to our other women's tag team title tournament match, it was Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir taking on TayJay. But it was just good. It was kind of there. Like Marina and Megan obviously bipped them around a little bit. I wouldn't say they squashed them, but they did look dominant. The best part was, Ty Mello at one point got the hot tag. She ran rather 30 seconds. And then she tagged Anna Jay back in. I think Anna must have shouted, "I've taken my med pack." And Ty was like, great. Now, Anna Jay was able to get the Queen Slayer at one point, but Megan Bayne just ran her right into the corner. Marina went, well, that works for me. She tagged in, and she applied the Mother's Milk to get the tap-out victory. That's right, Anna did tap out. And because they are going to be taking on Toni and Mina, they then appeared on the big screen and said, oh, if we do win this crazy stipulation match of the weekend, maybe we'll choose a death match when, well, Tony Storm said Moxley will piss himself with blood because of the damage they'll do, or words to that effect. Don't think we should talk about it. It did what it had to do, though, and I tell you, if Megan and Marina did win this as somewhat of a surprise, I'd be totally down for it because even though this was last minute due to injuries, they do have a chemistry and they do come across like monsters. Giving it up. Then got a video for Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Moné, and I'll talk about that later because we did have Chris and Mercedes in the main event too, but I kind of feel like we should have gone bigger here. When it was time for Okada versus Mascara and Dorada, and this was the double jeopardy match. So if Dorada had won, he would have got a unified title match, but Okada did win, so now they are getting a shot at the CMLL Trios titles, and that will go down the pre-show before Full Gear. This is a very hard match to talk about because it was wonderful in many ways, and Dorada has such a bright future ahead of him, and Okada, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the best of all time. But there are a lot of moments and I kind of crumbled on the floor because something happened and Dorada didn't pull off the move he wanted to do. And because he is a flippy-dippy doodah guy, they were always in the air. He went for a Hurricane Rana off the top rope, and I don't know what happened. I thought Mascara Dorada was dead. Like, that is how terrifying it was. And he kind of fell over a little bit here and there too. I mean, maybe he got knocked silly early on. I just hope he's okay. Okada, being the troll he is, hit his own version of the Raging Fire, which was a shot at Takeshita before he scored with the Rainmaker to get the win. I did like the post-match angle, because Don Callis was like, oh, great, we are going to challenge for those belts at the weekend, and Okada, you shall be teamed with Hechicero and Takeshita. And Okada's face literally went, he was so damn mad. So I am going to give it an up, because I was entertained, but I hope he's okay. Like, everybody makes mistakes, and it's fine. But so many of these, I was like, oh, no, he's dead. Oh, no, he's dead. Apparently, he's not dead. But once again, you don't necessarily want a wrestling match to feel all smooth and perfection. You just want to be pulled in by it. I was absolutely pulled in. The Sisters of Sin then said they were going to flub up the Babes of Wrath. This was one of the weirdest promos we had for a while. They kind of stood there like robots and said stuff like, you know, gluttony is a sin and lust is a sin, and we're going to sin on you. They did not say that, but check it out for yourself. When we got to our proper main event, it was Mercedes Moné taking on Red Velvet to find out who the real real Ring of Honor TV champion was going to be. Because, of course, Red Velvet was that, and then Mercedes had won it. The point is, Mercedes won. She now has another real belt, but also the old belt. That was very good, and I actually thought Red Velvet has come a long way the last couple of years, and she really showed out here. The finish was totally crazy. I think it was an avalanche lung blower, but I'd also just call it a move of doom. Like, they came off that top rope and crushed each other, and Mercedes got the win. I looked around like, well, yeah, that did have to be the end. Nobody was kicking out of that. Now, Chris Statlander was on commentary during this, so she was taking shots at Mercedes. But afterwards, Mercedes got on the announce table, and Chris kind of stood in front of her as they held up their belts. When Mercedes jumped onto her, put her into the Monet Maker, and yes, Chris Statlander tapped out. And when they got really weird is that 2 minutes later, you just saw Statlander pick up Red Velvet and walk off. I was like, if you're back up, why don't you go punch her in the face? Now, none of this was bad. The match was good, and I am going to give it up. And I am pumped for Chris versus Mercedes, so we've done something right. But Chris Statlander has to win now, given what we did do here. I also kind of think, given the gravitas of the bout, we could have found some time in the 3-hour show for Statlander just to go on the microphone and be like, oh my gosh, I'm the best. And then some people go, oh yeah, but promos are not a strong point. I think, one, that's being massively unfair. But two, do you know how you get better? By doing stuff like that. Now, it's not a big deal. It makes no difference. And again, I think the groundwork's already been done. But I am just going to finish off with a down. She's your champion. I just think sometimes you need to shine a giant spotlight in her face. And yes, as per the intro, it's way too long for my taste, but there was some good stuff on this, and it's got me super pumped for Full Gear, and I think that Hangman and a Page Samoa Joe match is going to be tremendous, even though we know it's very unlikely that Samoa Joe is going to win. So that's a good bit of business. I'm going to give it an up. Now, of course, please do drop me a comment below and let me know what you thought about the show. Or again, I'm on social media at Simon316. You can come and tell me, Simon, you're so biased. and you just lie all the time now. Let me just make it clear. You got to the end of this, you must be somewhat into the show, so I guess you care more than others. I would never do that, right? I've been doing this a long old time. I just watch things and I feel how I feel, and I'm gonna tell you, and if you disagree with me, that is the greatest thing in the world, because that's what the flipping world and flipping life is based on, or built on, I should say. Having a big chat and going, I found this and I found that. I'm never just gonna say things for the sake of saying things, because believe you me, I would have quit this a long time ago. Right, now, like the video, share the video and subscribe. Ups and downs for Raw are on the screen. Otherwise, have terrific days. I love some of you, not all of you. Some of you are too insane, but I appreciate you stopping by. See you soon.